Hello everybody, how's it going, and welcome back to SideNote. I would like to thank everybody who's watched my bow video. I believe that's how you pronounce it. That's how a few angry people in the comments told me. And to all the new subscribers too. We've gained, I think it's like almost 110 subscribers over the last week or so. And the bow video now is just about to hit 50,000 views, which is insane. So thank you so much to everybody that's commented, liked, left a comment and stuff. I've responded to as many of them as I could, or liked the comments and stuff like that and gone through them. So thank you so very much for that. I really, really do appreciate it. And if you like my videos and my other content besides just the bow video, please subscribe to this channel and yeah, come along for the ride. Now, before I quickly get into this fairly quick video, probably, because it's a bit of an older movie, and I haven't seen much modern lately, but I did rewatch this movie fairly recently, and I just wanted to quickly talk about it because its sequel is coming out next year, and we'll talk about that when it comes out, don't worry. But before we get into that, I do have a poll in the description. It's straw poll, safe link, you're okay. If you want to click on that and vote for a video upcoming, that would be awesome. I'm going to want to do either... I'm thinking doing 5, probably not 10, but either the 5 worst based on a true story movies, 5 worst book-to-movie, or the 5 worst video game-based movies. And just kind of going through the list and just being quickly about why they're so god-awful and just having a little bit of fun with it, essentially. So if you want to go vote for that, poll in the description. I'll also leave a comment as well with the poll link. Just go vote. It's just straw poll, so it's a safe site and stuff like that. And yeah, I'd be really appreciative with your guys' feedback, and we can get something cool going on. But without further ado, I love monster movies. Love them to death. Like, I can look past a lot of awful just to, like, appreciate and love the fact that a monster is going around destroying everything. Anything from, like, the Pacific Rim movies that have come out recently, this new Godzilla film, of course, the King Kong movies that have been coming out recently and stuff. They're all really cool, all the way back to, you know, the old Godzilla films and all the kaiju stuff from back in the day. Even the original King Kong from 1933. A lot of people are like, Citizen Kane is the best film ever made. I actually disagree, and I go with King Kong, because a lot of the ways that they actually made the original King Kong have been lost to history, and they just don't know how they did it with the technology at the time, and I think that is pretty impressive. Now the question remains, though, is it a good film or a bad film? Still kind of has to be said, because let's put it this way. Pacific Rim, the original, was an okay film. The second one was actually quite awful. The Godzilla 2000, Shudder there, is a terrible film. Awful as far as monster movies go, and as far as film in general goes. So what is 2014's Godzilla, the apology movie, essentially, for Godzilla 2000 or Godzilla 1999, or 1998? There's a lot of... we'll get into that movie someday. But anyway, where does 2014's Godzilla fit in? I'm going to put it in the better than I expected category, so slightly above average category. And there are plenty of reasons for me to put it in this category. The reveal for Godzilla, when they finally showed him, and Godzilla's own CGI and everything like that, is actually pretty spectacular for that kind of film. I expected it to look a little cheaper because I knew the budget thrown at them wasn't going to be astronomical for restarting a franchise like this, especially after the disaster that happened back in 2000. So I didn't expect it to look as good as it did, and the reveal for Godzilla when they finally showed him and he did his trademark roar was pretty good, I have to admit. The other kaiju, the Muto, which was the villain, I guess, of this film, while they weren't necessarily, like, you know, mainstay Godzilla, you know, it's not Ghidorah, it's not Gigan, it's not, you know, Mechagodzilla or Mothra, but, you know, for a new villain, even though they're all both dead now, they were good, they were decent, they were believable, they were interesting, they were tough, they had unique aspects to it, and what they were after played to the story quite well, so they're acceptable. But definitely for the sequel, I'm really hoping, it is called King of Monsters, I'm really hoping they do have more presence from, you know, old school Godzilla adversaries from like back in the day. But I guess we'll have to see. Now, outside of Godzilla, the story and the actors that were in it, the human element, they were okay. There was nothing spectacular there. Bryan Cranston did quite a good job portraying the distraught and eccentric father. He did a good job there. The main character, I believe his name is Brody, is an American, and he is in the military, which is good, because in all these movies you got, you know, there's like the main hero is always this jock guy, right? And it's never really explained. It's like, oh yeah, you know, he was the best football player in high school. It's like, yeah, but the best football player in high school at the time doesn't mean he's going to be NFL quality in a year, right? Like, he could go to college football and suck ass. Like, yeah, he's kind of buff. Good for him. But, like, with him being in the military and being deployed and, you know, explaining that kind of stuff, kind of put his, you know, buff, jock-like kind of attitude and stuff into better perspective and told it better than just being like, oh yeah, he played football or whatever, he's a tough guy. You know, it was a better explanation than most of these films usually put out, so I was happy with that. His wife and his kid, the kid actor was terrible, but of course it's a kid actor. Thankfully, not a lot of screen time there. There's very few kid actors I like, and I will cover something that I like kid actors in the future. Hint, season 3 is coming out, I believe, next year. But anyway, she was okay. He was a better actor than she was, because at least he, even if he wasn't a great actor necessarily in another role, he fit this one okay, because he was pretty stone-faced and, like, you know, military-esque. So even when his acting wasn't the best, it was like, well, he's a military guy, so he's gonna be a little bit less, you know, charismatic, when he probably should be a bit more charismatic. You could kind of play it off a little bit. Yes, his acting wasn't amazing, but there you could kind of be like, well, he's in the military, he can be a bit less, you know, charismatic feeling or whatever, right? It excuses a little bit of his flaws. Her flaws, she's a nurse. She isn't the best actress in the world by any stretch, but I don't think that either of their performances ruin the film, because you're really there just to see the last, like, half hour of the film when Godzilla fights the, you know, the Muto, right? That's really what you're there for, and the story just kind of bridges it along a little bit. That's another thing, too. The last half hour of the film is the final fight, but they show enough of the monsters and get enough of that in there that you're not bored with just the human interaction stuff. Like, they have a lot of, you know, exposition stuff, and they have to, you know, develop the characters and stuff like that. They don't do that great of a job of doing development of characters, but still, they do it, or they try. But they have the monsters intermingled, so there's still exciting scenes of these monsters in between, which is really nice. You know, from the Hawaii attack that's in the trailers to, you know, them breaking out of this Nevada facility that houses nuclear waste and stuff. You know, all that kind of stuff is, you know, interlaced in between. So you're not... I was never bored, and I was never like, oh, when is this movie going to end? You know, like some movies get that way. But this movie I found had a decent enough pacing that I wasn't too bored throughout. I guess we're into spoiler territory, even though this movie is like almost 5 years old now. So if you haven't for some reason watched it, spoilers? So two things that are really super spoilery, even though I kind of spoiled it a little bit on there. But the movie's made in 2014. If you're not going to watch it, then... if you're not going to watch it now, you're never going to watch it. But go watch it. You can rent it on YouTube. It's like $4 for like 2 days. That's worth it. It's like Blockbuster rentals, but digital. But anyway, two things that really bugged me. And one is Bryan Cranston's character's death. So he dies really, really early on into the film. Like the first... I think it's... within the first half hour, definitely within the first act, he dies, and it sucks and it's unfortunate. Him getting injured is fine, you know what I mean? Like him being wounded is okay. I'm okay with that, right? But the fact that he dies was just like, oh, really? Like, you just lost your best actor in this whole fucking film. Like, Bryan Cranston's acting in this movie was actually really, really good. He played his part really, really well. You know, eccentric scientist, lost his wife, conspiracy theory kind of guy. He's nuts. He played it really, really well. And the fact that he died so early on Really sucked. I would have rather, you know, Brody military fucker died, right? And dad lived kind of thing. Like, I don't know. A lot of people, this is my opinion, to keep in mind. Was it essential to the story that he died? I don't think so. If he had lived or died, I think the outcome would have been the same. He just would have had, you know, this Japanese scientist guy would have just had an extra buddy, I think, for the film. You know what I mean? And, like, Bryan Cranston might have gone with his son to blow up the eggs and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, he might have gone to as like a liaison, scientist liaison or something. I think that writing that in would have been more interesting. I think it would have made a little bit more pressure during that last half-hour movie scene. You know, stuff like that. I don't think he should have died when he died. If he was going to die, it should have been either closer to the end or just not at all, in my opinion. That's my opinion. The second thing actually starts at the start of the movie. Now, the start of the movie, Bryan Cranston and his wife work at a nuclear facility in Japan. I think it is Fukushima. But anyway, so they work there. He's like, you know, this big high-up guy. She's like, you know, some scientist lady thing too. Like they're both pretty, you know, they're high up in the chain of command and stuff. At least that's the way it seems. And they go to work, and the nuclear facility gets, like, attacked. Wife dies. Bryan Cranston's all sad about it. The nuclear facility just, like, crumbles into the earth, right? We find out later that the Muto kind of got in there, laid, like, an egg thing, and was dormant, eating the radiation, and then until it finally hatched and flew off, okay? So, how did the Muto get there? Obviously, it didn't fly because there, you know, this was modern enough times that people would have seen it, people would have recorded it, you know, there would have been film crews and stuff around filming it at this point in history. So it didn't fly in like it does, like the rest of the movie, like it can fly. So it tunneled, essentially, is what it did. It had to have tunneled. The thing is with that, is this is the only time that it's ever tunneled. Like, it breaks, the one that they put in the nuclear facility breaks out and does blow through a mountain, and the this one that attacks the nuclear facility, at the very, very, very start of the movie, they're at a mine, and they discover that this one's hatched and, like, kind of burrowed its way out into the ocean, right? But other than that, they never mention, like, its ability to kind of tunnel, because nobody saw it. So it tunneled into the ocean, and then somehow went to the Japanese mainland and tunneled through the continental shelf, basically, under Japan, and ate this nuclear facility. And they never talk about the fact that it can tunnel ever again. It's a moot point. So I think it would have been interesting to have them tunnel again, and, you know, like, explain it a little bit more about what the Mutos can actually do. Because all we see is that they can fly and that they're giant. And that's pretty much it. And they like nuclear waste. But so does Godzilla, so it doesn't even matter. Like, that's literally all we really know about them. Whereas with, like, you know, Mothra and Ghidorah and Gigan, all those, like, you know, other more established Godzilla villains, I say that with quotations, you could, you know, anybody that's well versed in those movies could tell you a huge, you know, they could write a book on the backstory of just Mothra. You know what I mean? So it was kind of disappointing that these Mutos showed up. They had these, like, abilities like tunneling and flying and all this other shit, and just nobody paid attention to them, and they just died. Like, there, you know, nobody knew anything about them, and nobody will ever know anything about them because they're now dead. So it's like, okay, now what? So I was kind of disappointed at the fact that the Mutos didn't get, you know, they were here for one movie just to establish, and then they were dead, and that's it. They're never coming back. So hopefully maybe there's more Mutos somewhere, and they come back later on, and we can find out more about them, and they can become part of this universe. But I really don't think, I think they were just a villain to make Godzilla fight somebody before they got in more characters later on. But I was a little bit disappointed with that. But otherwise, great film. Totally worth the watch if you're into monster movies. I don't find it gets boring, which is good. A lot of these are like, you know, they get halfway through and it's just like, oh my god, come on, get to the fucking fight scene already. This one built it up quite nicely, so I was happy about that. But yeah, definitely go give it a watch if you haven't already, or if you already have, you know, maybe it's a rainy day outside like it is for me and you just want something to do. Grab a bag of chips, you know, order a pizza, sit on the couch, and watch Godzilla, man. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and everything like that, and I will see you all next time. And don't forget to vote in that poll. Peace.